today? First of all somebody please acknowledge that my name is Erin and today is my national holiday. But I'm here talking to you all about the MMI. So thanks for coming in. More importantly, thanks for agreeing to help us out on Monday. I know Karen and I are so grateful for all of you. So we got a pretty good mix of veterans and some people who are probably hearing some of this for the first time. So we're happy to have everyone, whether it's for a refresher or to learn something new. So we'll give you an overview of the MMI today, which I think before we skip through the title slide, like those of us that have been doing this for a while have come up with no better analogy than it's like speed dating. Okay? We still haven't come up with another better way to describe it to people, but that one seems to resonate, and this picture just is so great. So acknowledgement of that first, but gotta give you some objectives for the day. So our plan is, we'll give you a little bit of background for those of you who haven't done this before, introduce some of the ideas of the stations and the prompts, and then we will actually do an example of how to go through the rating scale, how to evaluate the candidates that you're going to meet on Monday, and then some of the really important logistical things so that everybody feels ready to go on Monday. Okay? All right, so what is the MMI? It's an interview, right? But it's not a traditional interview, so it's not a panel. It's speed dating. Okay, again, there's no better way. So just like speed dating, the candidates are all going to cycle through a bunch of stations, which since 2020 have been Zoom rooms. Okay, so they're going to cycle through Zoom rooms, meet one or two of you per station, and then after 10 minutes, they move on to the next person. Okay? So just so you know, some background. This is actually the model that is used for medical school applications. So not unique to the medical field, but unique to be done in some of our programs and on the community college level. Right? Alrighty. So why do we use it? I think this is like you gotta know, you gotta tell you all the why, so that you believe in it like we do. So importantly, it really truly measures soft skills. Okay, something we all know how much we need to care about in our programs. Also known as non-academic factors. So not GPA and things like that. So we do that on the other pieces of our application. We want this to measure something different and give us some different piece of information that we can use to admit the best cohort of students. Importantly, it's non-biased. I know we as a department have spent a lot of time in the past years looking at what are some of the biases in our application process, and we can look to research and say this is a really non-biased tool. Why? Partly due to the design. The candidates are going to get evaluated by a lot of different people. They're essentially getting a fresh start every 10 minutes. Okay? Huge diversity of raters, I think, which has increased now that we are doing this collaboratively. So even diversity of professionals involved and things like that. So it's a really great tool to stand on and say that it's a really non-biased part of our application processes. And then lastly, and really importantly, it has been shown by our dean over there to have predictive value. Okay. Elizabeth showed that it has correlation with clinical education performance. That students who either had red flags or didn't score as well on the MMI process were actually the same students who struggled in clinical education. So that's really valuable information information for all of us. And then retrospectively, we've also seen that the red flags, which we'll talk about, this is a really accurate way to pick up on those flags, and we've been able to proactively use that to address concerns. Okay, so we'll talk towards the end about how we really want you to identify red flags and give us that information so that we can, not use it against the student necessarily in the interview process, but to address it proactively before they come into our programs. All right, so I had to get through that part. Okay, now to the parts that we can be more interactive and very applicable to Monday. So I want to tell you a little bit about the rating scale that's used in the MMI first. You do have a copy of it in front of you, specific to the one prompt that we're going to do together today. And you will all get a copy of the rating scale that goes with the station that you're assigned to. Okay, but they all use the same global rating scale, and they all look almost identical. Okay, so we'll just go through this one together today. So the important part is to recognize that uses what's called the global rating scale. If you rate the student from 1 to 9, okay, you're basically saying, is their performance unsatisfactory, satisfactory, or superior? Okay, if you switch to the next slide, more detail. Okay, so you're going to use that rating scale, and you're going to evaluate each candidate on 3 things. Either their teamwork, which is one of the prompts and is the one you have in front of you, or their content, so what they actually say, what they do, their communication, their verbal abilities, and then overall, okay, which as we dive deeper into the rubric, that allows you to give an overall impression, which includes everything from when they enter the Zoom room to when you send them on to the next one. Okay, so key points. And in class, this is where the students perk up their ears, right? So I highlighted it in green since it's St. Patrick's Day, okay, and so that it would be very clear. Okay, so the most important thing here to know about this scale is that satisfactory or average or an as expected performance is actually the middle, okay? And what that allows us to do is differentiate the beyond satisfactory, the more superior performance, and then those who are actually on the other end where it's very unsatisfactory. So it doesn't give us that ceiling at the top if we're like high raters and you're giving everybody 8s and 9s. It makes it harder to differentiate the candidates who really are the ones who are giving us a superior performance. So another way to think about this is, I think there's some hesitancy because if you're rating 3 things, 5 plus 5 plus 5 is only 15, and that seems bad, right? Like, you don't want to give somebody that bad of a score. So 15 is actually a really average candidate, okay? But it lets you then see the difference between a 15, 16, 17 candidate and like a 22 or 23 because that's, we want to be able to make that differentiation and for this process to make a difference in the total admissions package, okay? So majority of the people you're going to score as a 4, 5, or 6. Okay. So, yeah, so in terms of logistics, you have the paper version of the rubric, but you're actually going to enter your scores on this form. Okay. So you'll get this link. I actually haven't edited the names and things from last year, so I'm going to just trust me for your name. So you'll drop down, you'll click your name, you'll click the candidate name, and the candidates have been asked to make sure that their name on their Zoom tile matches the name that they gave us on their application. So you pick their name, and then you'll know your station number. Okay, so that'll be kind of the first thing, or the background work there. And then here are the global ratings. So as I you're going to give them 3 ratings: the content, their communication, and then their overall score. And it does look busy, but it's just a repeat of what's on all of these kind of training documents, so that you don't have to be searching for things while you're in the interview with them. Okay? So then, like, the select your answer is just a drop down of 1 through 9. Yeah, quite there. Okay. Concern. So then you have an opportunity to give a little bit more information about the candidate if you'd like. So one is the concerns or recommended support. So it's kind of like the red flag opportunity. I'll go through. Oh, you have the list of those on your table too. A brief description. If you're going to say that there are concerns, we would definitely appreciate knowing what those concerns are. And then space to leave additional comments, okay? But please, the intent is not to write a novel about each candidate that you see. So there was a desire to give us feedback about each candidate, so that box is there, but the intent with the MMI is that you give us these three scores, you're in the moment with the candidate, and you shouldn't feel like you need to write a bunch of comments on everyone you see. Okay, the ratings are great. And there will be an opportunity to debrief afterwards. Okay, so that's what you have in front of you. So I think we're good there, and we'll practice with it, so you'll get more active learning opportunity to do that. So just real quickly about the red flags, but again, that's that opportunity to tell us yes or no. Do you have any concerns about the student? And again, the point of the red flags is for us to identify concerns with the students. Okay, so you should not, as a grader, feel that if you're marking yes, there are concerns that you're, knocking that student out of their chances of getting into the program. Okay, we look to kind of triangulate those concerns and again, most often use them to address problems in the program. Okay, so you have those sample red flags, and really trust your gut on that. And obviously, depending on the scenario that you're given, I think the red flags get applied a little differently for each. But use your professional judgment. You can write comments, and you'll have an opportunity to debrief with the whole group at the end. All right. So, any questions so far? Wanted to talk fast enough that we had plenty of time to watch this video and actually use the rubric and work through any questions that you have. So, what you have here is a Zoom recording. So a mock of the Station 1 prompt, which is about teamwork. And that's what I did print. I meant to print the picture of what they're describing here, but essentially, what you'll see is there's 2 students here, okay? Not me, I'm moderating the station. But one student has a picture. Okay, it's pretty geometrical. It's not anything like identifiable, just a bunch of shapes and things on a piece of paper. So one student has a copy of this image, and the other student doesn't. But the student with the copy of the image is describing it to the other, and they have to draw it. So they have to collaborate and work as a team to try to accurately replicate this picture. And it's not about how much they get done or if they get it exactly right, but how well they work together as a team. So we can go ahead and watch this, and you can kind of be looking at the rubric and deciding how you might score them, and we can compare. Okay.
I want you to draw a big rectangle.
Did it fill the space or
Just about, you probably have maybe about an inch on each side.
Okay. Okay.
So now we're gonna split the rectangle in half by drawing a diagonal line from the top left corner to the bottom right corner.
Okay.
In the bottom left corner now, we're gonna draw like a small triangle. Almost
Okay.
like
Just
a-
in the corner?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then inside that triangle, draw a number 5.
Okay.
Okay? Now from, now in the other triangle that we split in half, so in the top right corner of the original rectangle, draw a
Mhm.
diagonal line that meets the other diagonal line that so splitting that triangle in half.
Okay. So dividing the triangle. Okay.
Okay? And then in the smaller triangle, on the right side,
Okay.
put a 27 in the middle of it. The other triangle will be blank.
2, 7.
27. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for that one. So now in the next quadrant at top right, we're gonna draw something that looks like a cup. So draw a like rectangle that doesn't have a top, so it's taller than it is wider.
So it's a cup or a container. Like,
So it's like a
kind of
rectangle.
like a U shape?
No, it's a rectangle for a
Okay.
bottom, and then it has a circle for a top.
Okay.
Okay.
Rectangle for a bottom, circle for a top. And so a long rectangle at the base, and then a
Yes.
circle that connects to the rectangle.
Yeah, so the top. So it has 3 sides of the rectangle without the top,
Okay.
and then a circle is like the top of the triangle or the rectangle. This is the most difficult picture to describe.
Okay.
Okay, now using the right side of that cup or that rectangle, that right edge, we're going to draw a top of a cylinder, kind of like something that we just drew that comes out to the right and points to the right. So it's going to be like, go ahead.
So on the vertical side of the rectangle, there's
Yes.
going to be a cylinder on the right side.
So it's going to be like, so connected, so using the right edge of that rectangle,
Okay.
we're going to have, so basically it's 2 horizontal lines coming off, pointing to the right, and then
Okay.
we're going to connect it with a circle, those 2 lines. So it kind of looks like like the top half of a cylinder.
Does it fill the rectangle, or is it just at the edge of the lines?
It's just at the edge of the line,
Okay.
if I'm understanding correctly.
Okay.
Okay, that's actually time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See what-
Let's see the picture. Oh, this is what is happening in virtual background. Oh.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, we're having.
It only happened once before. We couldn't end up seeing it. Yeah, you got the. What I was trying to say. It was perfect for.
I wasn't sure about the triangle. That might be too small.
It's good. I mean,
Oh,
Thank you.
how we got. Yeah.
Thank you so
welcome.
much, Frank.
Thanks.
you're welcome.
All right, what are your thoughts? Did anyone try to draw it? I forgot to tell you, it's kind of fun, and especially since I forgot to bring down the picture when you're drawing, to see if you can actually create it. So I think one point of like logistical clarification here too, if you're assigned to this station, in Zoom, what we found works better is if we have a standard partner. So you're gonna have one of our PTA or dental hygiene current students in your Zoom circuit with you, and they will serve as the partner for each of the candidates. So really the one that you're rating is the student who's drawing, okay? That there should still be great interaction between those two people. Okay, and as you see, like it really does. The end, they love the opportunity to show the picture, see how close they got to the drawing, and have like a good laugh about it before moving on. So, we could maybe flip it back to like the giant rubric. Okay, so I just want to hear your thoughts on the global ratings. So now, if you just witnessed this interaction, so Frank would be the student here. We need to give three ratings. So the content, or the teamwork, the communication, the overall score. So the other thing I wanted to point out here too is that all of your rubrics will have those bullet points underneath them. They're kind of like anchor, like things that you would want to see from a student who is satisfactory. Okay, so that you can help make the decision on if you're getting that rating or not. So in terms of the teamwork prompt, thinking about things like respect for the teammate, good team spirit, having, they kind of had a plan on providing clarification, and all those types of things. So, what do you think? And I think this is hard too because you've only seen one. And another thing about the MMI is that the more you see, the more clear it will become who's satisfactory and who's superior and who's unsatisfactory. Okay, so it is very much an okay strategy to not submit the form until you've seen a few. Okay, in fact, many raters have given that feedback in the past that it's helpful to click into the Microsoft form and fill it out based on like what's your gut like reaction to this. But once you've seen a few, you might want to go back and change a couple ratings, and that's okay, and it's actually intended to be that way. Okay, so if you're kind of thinking of a game plan, like you can open multiple versions of that form at the same time, and then just submit them once you feel confident in the 3 ratings. Okay, but what are you thinking for the teamwork? Keep looking, that's not the exact same rubric that you have in front of you. So in terms of teamwork, we think Frank was unsatisfactory, satisfactory, or superior?
Satisfactory.
Okay. And then, so satisfactory, you're looking at a 4, a 5, or a 6. So even within there, it gives you the opportunity to say, this was on the higher end of satisfactory versus the lower end of satisfactory. And then next you're going to rate communication. All about the communication in that.
I said the same because they kept talking to each other throughout the process.
Yeah, they did. They engaged well with each other. Frank asked a lot of clarifying questions, which I will say, like, really does help this one be more successful. In the end, you'll see some students be very quiet and just take all the direction, and then at the end the picture looks nothing like what it should. And again, it's not about what it looks like at the end, but if we want to have students, if they're not sure about something, that they ask and they clarify, so a really like ideal thing to see with this station is that the student asks for clarification if they're not quite sure of the direction, right? It's hard to describe something like that. You could see Bria, the other partner, kind of struggling with, like you didn't understand what I said, but she came up with another way to describe it, and they ended up with a pretty good picture at the end. Their tone of communication was very respectful to each other. I think that's another thing. You didn't see any frustration. Okay? You certainly might see some frustration come out at this station depending on how that interaction plays out. Okay. And then overall, so this was like really, we hit record on this when it started, okay? But from a logistical standpoint, which is coming next, the flow of this is that raters are gonna stay in the breakout rooms. And then each of the circuits has a facilitator, okay? So there's everybody's here, Karen and Hannah and Megan and myself. We'll be like doing all the timing and moving the students to the different breakout rooms. So when the student first comes to you, you've got a minute or so to introduce yourself to them, like interact with them. Then they get the prompt and then they go through if it's not the teamwork drawing, they'll be talking with you about their answer. And then they'll move on to the next station. So they might say, bye, nice to meet you, like anything about the 10 minutes that they're in their breakout room, you have the opportunity to give feedback on with that last rating. Okay, so that Zoom recording, we didn't see kind of the extra, but you get to account for that as well. Okay. So anything I can help clarify with the rubric? Again, we don't need 100% on this. We're actually going for most of your candidates are going to be average, okay, but make sure you give credit to the ones who do a really amazing job and that you give proper feedback to the ones who do need to still grow a bit in that area. Don't worry, like that slide with the highlight, like those messages are on like every piece of paper that we'll email with you this weekend. Okay.
Would you find that this is cohort specific also? So these students might be more above average, and so we may see a certain response. So if we go back, we say, oh wow, these are really good. But then the next one, say we get one next week, they may have a different rating just because we didn't see any really differentiation between that
Yeah,
group, right?
maybe. I haven't done that in PCA, but I think that's a valid point. And it is supposed to be a bit comparative. Like you are supposed to be saying like, yes, this person did do better than this person because you're looking at your pool of candidates and you're trying to differentiate them from one another. I think it's important to have the norming with the raters so that you have that consistent use of the scale and that you can do that. Because we're all inclined to like give 9s, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So again, Karen's recording this, so our plan is to send it out because clearly we have lots of other, not only Malcolm X people helping us, but people from our advisory board and clinical partners who we want to, so you'll have an opportunity to watch it again if you want, but I'll also send like this PowerPoint out to you, and then so let's talk through like the logistics. What do we gotta get done on Monday? So the whole block, every interview that we're doing for PTA and dental hygiene is on Monday from 2 to 8. So, you know, you signed up for whatever time block works for you, and Karen sent you an email about that this morning. So just so you know, logistically, like 3 candidates are gonna come in at a time, and they're gonna go 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and leave. And then 3 new ones are gonna come in and rotate through the stations, and then they head out too. Okay, so each breakout room has 1 to 2 raters in it. Okay, so more than likely you'll have a friend in the room with you. Okay, we were fortunate enough to get enough people to give a couple raters per station, and 4 are running simultaneously. So 4 Zoom rooms are going on at the same time. Hopefully all the students come on time into the right breakout room or to the right Zoom room, so my fingers are crossed on that. Okay, so then from a Zoom perspective, as raters, does everyone feel comfortable with the share screen function? In this day and age, like, I don't want to make an assumption that that's the case. Okay, so what we'll email you this weekend is your specific station information. But one of them, the file name will say like station 1 prompt, share screen with the candidate. And it's just your prompt in big font. And then you can share screen with them to give them time to read it. Okay, so you don't have to read them the prompt. You're gonna share your screen with them, and they actually have a timed 1 minute to read it. Okay, so you as the rater will have that. You'll share your screen with them. Okay, for that minute. Okay, so the flow is the candidate will arrive at your breakout room. Okay, go ahead and greet them. Okay, now the facilitators are gonna do the moving, but we'll also do the timing, and we'll use the chat broadcast function and tell you like exactly where you're at in those 10 minutes. Okay, so we give you a minute or so to get settled, and then you'll get a message that says the candidate has a minute to read the prompt. Share your screen with them. Okay, you'll get another message that says like you have 6 minutes to respond. Okay, and then you'll get kind of a warning or a time's up message. Okay, and then you can wrap things up with your candidate. Okay, and then the facilitator will move them to their next breakout room. Okay, so that's the general flow, and you can rely on the facilitators to like kind of guide you with where you're at in that. Okay, so what we're going to send you over the weekend is your specific prompt. So some of you will have this drawing prompt, okay, but there are 3 interview prompts. Okay, so there's a second and third one as well. Okay, one is about accountability, and then I'm blanking on the other one, Karen. Cultural competence is the third one. Okay, so, but again, what you learned today will be able to translate to all those rubrics as well in terms of the global ratings and the general flow of each station. Okay, we'll send you a rubric. We will send you the paper version of this. By paper, I mean an attachment that could be printed if you'd like to, and a link to that Microsoft form that we went through. Okay, so you could certainly take notes on paper if you wanted to, but ultimately you're going to put all your ratings into that form. Okay, and then the day of, we will send you a Zoom link that will take you to the correct circuit. Okay, and then you'll just hang out there the rest of the time. So the Zoom we went over, just the students have been asked to make sure that their names match, but if we can do the same for them so they know who they are meeting with, that would be great. And they have been, it's good for you to know that they've been asked to have their camera on for the duration of the interview. Okay, and the facilitators will kind of do a double check and make sure that their IT is going well, they have a video on, their name matches, but just for your awareness of what they have been educated on. They got an educational handout pretty similar to yours as a rater. Okay. And that's it. I think I did it in time. No need to clap over. Okay. All right. I clap for you because you volunteered your time to help us.
And the chat features disabled, right?
Yeah, the students should. we did do the disabled chat last year. We were actually discussing whether or not that we needed to do that since we didn't think that there was much for the candidates to chat about. But they will enter the Zoom room and be put in the waiting room. What else? You feel ready? That was my main goal. We felt good about what was coming up on Monday.
Would you